Welcome to the Nauticals training tutorial. Today we'll be doing a step-by-step guide on the processes involved in installing our nautical tents, focusing on the 6-meter range, the 10-meter range and the 14-meter range. As you can see, I've got your marking pegs, we've got a center line, we've got a tape measure, and we've got our plans, the measuring wheel plans that get sent with you when purchasing a nautical tent. Today we'll be focusing on installing the Nautical Sailcloth tent. The first step in the installation process is to choose the area that you'd like your Nautical Sailcloth tent installed. It's extremely important that you follow the marking out and placement plan according to our recommendations in order to get the best installation on the day. So the first process we will follow is taking a center line, which will then run through the exact center of where the tent will be installed. So we've currently marked the center line of the tent, and we've taken the 2 outer points and the 2 center poles. And the 2 inside pins that have been marked will be where your king poles will be placed, and the 2 outer marks will be where the perimeter portion of the tent will fall, but not necessarily where the poles will be placed. The next step would be to use the measuring wheel to get exact perimeter pole placement. How this works is we'll be taking the provided measuring wheel. It's important that you use the measuring wheel provided for the exact size tent you will be using. As you can see, you place the measuring wheel over the pin, and there is a center line on the measuring wheel which you line up with your center line, and you use the specific measurements on the measuring wheel to give your peg and pole placement.
7175.
So currently we have used the measuring wheel to get 2 marking points. The first marking point will be where the perimeter pole will fall, and the second marking point will be at the peg placement. The pole and peg placement will be the same for all various size tents. It will always fall at a 2.4 meter mark.
Okay, next angles here.
As you can see, we have completed the marking process using our marking points and our map. So currently you'll see over here you have our pole placements, and over here you will have your peg placements. We will then repeat the process for the opposite side of the tent. Currently we have completed the process of marking out the 2 outer panels using our markers to get the exact peg placements. We'll be now placing our ratchet strap heads and hammering in our pegs. Once you've completed the process of hammering in your pegs and attaching your ratchet strap onto the peg, you'll then push the 2 king pole marker points into the ground, lay out your ground sheet, and then place your nautical tent on top of the ground sheet. The next phase is installing the tent accessories onto the king poles. Currently we have the flag rod, the king pole top cap, the rain cap and our flag. We will be inserting the flag rod through the center rings of the tent. The first part of the application is to take your top king pole steel cap and you insert it through the rings in the tent, and then you will be placing your flag rod thereafter, and last you will be placing your rain cap, and then the flag accessory goes on top, and then there will be a drawstring to pull it down to the attached flag attachment point. We'll now be explaining the importance on how you join your insert panels and your outer panels together. It's important that you get this join tight in order to get the slick look and feel of the end finish of the tent.
Just thread the loop through the above eye, and then pass it through the loop from above. And you repeat the process through the eye, pass it through the loop from above. Then once we finish with the lacing, we've obviously just got to secure and tie it on the end so that the lacing doesn't unravel when we start tensioning out the tent at a later stage. So this is, yeah, we're on our last tassel now. So still the same process. You pass it through your eyelet, pass it through the above tassel, and you put a bit of tension on it. What we do here now is you pass it underneath and you do a half hitch, and then you pass it over the top tassel, and again you can do 2 half hitches to finish it off.
Currently we are closing the Dutch cater with a Velcro flap. It's a 3-way flap mechanism where it conceals the Dutch cater from any waterproofing issues. We have now placed each of the poles at an attachment point on the perimeter of the tent. We will be now attaching our ratchet strap to the U-rings of the tent for tensioning, and we will complete this throughout the perimeter of the tent. Before you feed the ratchet strap through the ratchet head, it's important you place the ratchet head cover through the strap. As you can see on the joining panel, there are 2 U-rings with insert pieces which goes to the ring at the top, and it's the same on this side. You will then place the pole through the U-ring, through the eyelet, through the U-ring, through the eyelet, and at the top. Your ratchet strap will then be connected to the U-ring at the top in that fashion. We'll be attaching the ratchet straps to the U-ring around the full perimeter of the tent and giving it slight tension. So we will start by raising the perimeter poles where the insert panels and the outer panels join to allow us access inside the tent to place the king poles. In this process we just apply a minimum amount of tension to make sure that the poles stand upright. At this point you can remove the protective ground sheet. We're now inserting the king pole into the king pole steel cap, which inserts into the flag rod. In the case it's difficult to insert the king pole, slack some of the tension on the perimeter poles. As you can see, the pole sits onto the king pole marker point, which we discovered on our center line when doing our mapped placement. So it's important that the pole will then sit on this mark. So when we tension out the tent, that you get your center mark. It's important that the figure-of-8 aluminium cater falls on the outside of the pole, which houses your nautical sidewalling system. Currently the poles look out of placement, however as the tent gets structure and more tension gets applied, the tent will start forming shape. So once you've raised all your perimeter poles, it's important that the perimeter pole base falls onto the marker placement. As you can see, the team is now tensioning each individual perimeter pole. It's important that you tension them equally, making sure that the base of the pole sits at the marking point in order to get equal tension to form the shape of the tent. In the beginning, we marked out the 2 outer panels and the placement of the 2 outer panels. We'll be now finding the peg placement for the poles on the insert panels. You start this process by inserting your pole into the eyelet at the top of the tent, connecting your strap to the U-ring, marking out a 2.4 meter point, making sure it's 3 meters in between each insert panel, and marking your point and inserting your peg for tensioning. As you can see, we've completed the installation process of the actual tent. We'll be now moving on to the sidewalling system that Nautical offers to completely enclose the tent for heating, cooling purposes and for privacy. We currently have 2 application methods to do the walls. It's a figure-of-8 PVC cater. On the sidewall at the top side where the tassels are to roll up the wall, you'll see there's a beading and then the profile, and you simply slide the profile through the beading This is the first method, depending on how you like to do it. The other method is to apply the figure of 8 onto the tent first. At the top of the tent, you'll see there's a cater system where you simply slide the figure of 8 profile onto the cater system. We'll then be unzipping the sidewall for easy application of joining the wall to the tent. It's important that you unzip it prior to trying to slide the cater system through the aluminium profile on the pole. You repeat the same process from the other side. In cases if your pole placement is slightly out and there's tension, you'll need to slightly shift the pole over in order to make sure that the gap closes tightly. This is the nautical weight bar for the sidewall. As you can see, there's an elastic rubber band on the end with an S-hook. This will allow us to create some tension when the wall is in place and the weight bar is inserted. The weight bar simply slides into the pocket. The nice thing about the nautical walls is they're all in 3-meter increments. You can then open and close the walls easily in the following method we'll be showing you. This you can use for access and exit points in your tent on a hot and cold day. And it's simply a zip and a roll-up procedure, so the customers in this case can also open up the tent for easy access and entrance and exit. The last piece of accessories we apply is the peg cover. This is a protective cover that you simply place over the peg and use the Velcro flap to create a protection area. We have now completed the installation tutorial of the Nautical Sailcloth Tents. We're really proud with this development and wish you happy installations for your future events.